Hi, guys. So, one of your homework activities is going to involve using your if then unit. Every writing units of study set comes with an if then book. And this is alternate curriculum. So, oftentimes, um, at different points of the year, you might find that that the majority of your class is maybe struggling with a certain genre or struggling with some skills. And so the if then unit will suggest alternate units that you can incorporate at different times of the year. And oftentimes on your curriculum map, depending on what grade you're in, it'll suggest using an if then unit of study. And what's different about these units is that they are not scripted out like your typical units are, and they do suggest bends. They will give you a title for each bend, and then they'll suggest some teaching points and some possible scenarios and things you might consider. But you definitely need to create your own mini lessons. And this work does get easier the more experience you have with the units. But what we wanted you to do for your homework assignment was to take your if then unit and kind of just look through it and mine for some possible teaching points that you could teach to your class. And then think about some leave behinds that you could leave with your writers if you were to confer with them one on one, or maybe a couple of writers in a small group. So, next, I'm going to show you some possibilities of what that might look like. So, this unit is called Launching with Small Moments, and this would be for second graders. So, second graders that maybe are still struggling with telling, zooming in on one small piece of their narrative stories. Launching with Small Moments is is taught heavily in kindergarten and first grade. So, this might still be something that you want to focus on in second grade. And in this unit, one of the possible teaching points is to suggest that writers tell their story bit by bit and really zooming in on one small part of their small moment. And it suggests possible prompts that you might say to your students. So if you were thinking about a visual that you could leave with them to support them with this work, you might want to leave them with just a sticky note after you suggest that they zoom in on one small moment and remind one piece of the small moment, and then remind them to tell their story in a bit by bit fashion. Thinking about what happens first, then next, then after that, and then finally. And so this would be a good visual to remind them to continue to do that in every one of their pieces. The next if then curriculum book we're going to look at is the third grade book. And this unit is writing gripping fictional stories with meaning and significance. One of the teaching points is to channel students to try out literary leads and endings that send a message. And one of the suggestions in here is to have them work with a partner to do this work. So maybe you could come up with a strategy. Sometimes a fun gimmick always makes things more engaging. Like something like this to suggest that they phone a friend. So maybe they're getting ready to write their ending. They're not quite sure how to end their piece. So maybe they're going to utilize this phone a friend strategy. And you sit down with a set of partners and show them the strategy. So you would already have this visual. Maybe you would have it in a sheet protector. You have it in your conferring binder that you could use throughout the year. But you would suggest to them that first find a partner that they ask them for some help. And then they would have a discussion and then suggest some things that they might say. Like, one problem I'm having is ending my story. What do you think about this ending? I wonder about this. So, some possible prompts that they could use with their partner. And then the third step would be for them to say, oh my gosh, I've got it and I have an idea. And then this would be something that you would keep with you, but so maybe something that you would leave with them is just a little picture of a phone, suggesting that they remember this phone a friend strategy. And of course, with older writers, you can ask them what visual would be supportive for me to leave with you so that you remember to do this work. So that's what all you need to do is just use your if then unit, mine it for a possible teaching point or a strategy for writers, and then come up with some sort of a fun visual that you can leave with your students to remind them to do the work.